Hey guys. Okay, so last week we answered the question, what are DA plans or town planning drawings? If you saw that video, you may recall that I said they sit partway in between the concept drawings and the detailed construction drawings. Now the next question we get on this whole plan topic inevitably is when can we start those construction drawings, those detailed structural sort of drawings that the engineer prepares and the designer or the architect prepare? Look, in an ideal world, you would wait until you had the final town planning approval before you kicked into that next phase. So you'd wait until the town planning approval was through before you engaged the engineer to do that next level of documentation. The reality is very few people ever anticipate how long this process is going to take. You need at least 6, probably 12 months to work through that process from the initial concept phase right through all of the relevant approval phases, the documentation phases, to get to the point where you're ready to start construction. And like I said, no one ever anticipates that. So by the time they get to us, they're like, yeah, we've got to get our skates on. We've got to make up time. Our timeline does not allow for this delay. So the next best outcome, if you can't perfectly line everything up, is to wait until we get that verbal approval from council. So we wait until we get the email or the phone call from the assessment manager saying, yep, we're all good here. We're going to start approving, or start preparing, I should say, the approval documentation, and then we're going to hand it over to the delegate for sign off. I think in my career, there's probably only been 1, if not 2 situations where the delegate threw up a curveball and turned around and said, oh no, actually we still got something to talk about here, or we still got something to resolve here. I can't just hit stamp and approve. So most of the time that delegate is involved from the very beginning, and they're doing regular check-ins with the assessment manager to make sure everything's on track. So it is very rare that you get a surprise or a change that comes up at that last minute. So let's say 99% of the time, you're good to go then. Now, when I say that to people, they inevitably go, it's going to save me like a week, maybe 2 weeks. Like, that's not going to change things here. I need more time. So if you can't wait until that point, the next best step is to come back to that information request stage. So that point where council comes to us and said, hey, look, ideally, we have no further issues or no issues to come back to you with, or more likely, hey, we need these little tweaks or this extra documentation. We need to talk about this stuff here. At that point, we can go, okay, now we know which direction this one's going to go. These are going to be the key issues we need to resolve. This is the stuff that's locked in that we're happy with. So we can give you a bit more certainty at that point to kickstart that detailed design or construction process, plan process. If you can't wait till then I guess you start back when we lodge the town planning application. But ideally you get the person, so whether it's the structural engineer, whether it's the designer or the architect, to start focusing on those aspects that you know will not change. So the exempt components, or the components that tick all of the council boxes. Leave the components that potentially are going to evolve through the assessment process until the end, and that way you reduce the opportunity or the chance to have to do rework, and therefore you reduce the opportunity for additional fees and all of that sort of stuff. Because no design professional loves going back and reworking an old job, rehashing old ground. It's just not fun. So yeah, just to recap, ideally, in the ideal world, everything would go one after the other after the other. So you'd wait until you had your town planning approval through before you started the detailed documentation phase. That is not the reality that we live in. No one ever, very rarely do people sit there and wait till then. So the next step back is the verbal approval. And again, if you can't wait till then, we go to the information request stage. And if you can't wait till then, you start it when you do your DA, but you be mentally prepared for the fact that you are going to most likely, well not most likely, potentially have to get people to rework things, and that's going to cost extra money. Okay, I think that covers off everything I wanted to do or talk about this week. As I always say, until next time, thanks for watching.
For all you red tape lovers out there, I have one thing to say. Well, no, actually, I've got 3. Number 1, the advice provided in these videos is general in nature. It's not site specific. You would be a silly Billy to go and make financial decisions based on this advice without first checking with the town planner. Don't be a silly Billy. Number 2, Brisbane town planning is in no way linked to Brisbane City Council. The views expressed in these videos are my own, not council's. So if you don't like them, blame me, not council. Number 3, what was my number 3? Oh yeah, the views expressed in these videos are accurate at the time of recording. If you're watching this video back 10 years from now, the views may not be so accurate. That's all. Bye.